Greetings everyone and welcome back to 365 Days of Prog. Today we'll be reviewing the immensely great album by Rick Wakeman called The Six Wives of Henry VIII.
Hi, my name's Naomi. I'm an avid progressive rock fan, but I'm a long ways from knowing all the prog albums out there. But this year, I'm gonna give it a try. This is 365 Days of Prog.
So with no further introduction, I think the best way to get into this album is by understanding the music and what's found on it. So here are some of my favorite bits of the album. So I just love it when I come into an album with high expectations and they're actually met. There is not a better feeling than that in the entire world. This album was absolutely this thing. I wanted it to be great because I knew it was Rick Wakeman's first solo album out of Yes. And it was amazing. Yes, Rick Wakeman did a fantastic job on here. Now, this album is not a conceptual album, more as it is an idealistic album. There is an idea behind it and it's pretty basic. As the name says, this album is about the six wives of Henry VIII. He did have six wives and each song on here represents one of the wives and it does hold the name of each one of them. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar with the history about Henry VIII and his wives, he basically had six of them and he loved them very much until he suddenly didn't, and each one or most of them, they met a tragic demise at the end, either by execution by Henry or just a tragic death caused by an illness. Now, each of his wives holds a very important role in who he was and what he did and his life story, but although everything is known about the history of Henry VIII, this album doesn't really go all the way in order to document it. It just takes a loose inspiration of everything and the idea could be about any six other things. It doesn't really matter. This, for all I'm concerned, could just be the six best roller coaster rides in Europe. The themes of the music, they are just loosely based on anything about this story. The thing is that the music on here is inspired in some fashion by medieval music, and that's kind of nice because it does get you into the mood of the album and the time period. And when it comes to the music found on here, it's freaking fantastic. It's amazing music. It's everything that I wanted it to be. This is just peak Rick Wakeman at his best. He came out of Yes, he's still doing what he knows how to do in a way that is what is done on Yes, but now he has the full control over what he's doing. So that means he doesn't get that keyboard solo once in a while and does some interesting stuff in the background. This is just entirely keyboard heavy, like everything's so amazing and I'm gonna talk about it more, but this album is so good, and if you like the way he plays, this is just a full 37 minutes of just that. I think all the songs here are amazing. They're really, really good, but I have to choose one, and that would be Catherine of Aragon, the first song, to be the best of them all. It's just a lovely song. It's so good. It features everything that I want to hear. It features those mellow moments, those really relaxing and heartfelt moments, but it also features those hard-hitting moments on here, and it's such an amazing song. It's definitely a 10 out of 10 beautiful song. And yes, if I had to describe all the songs on here with one word, I'd have to use the word beautiful, because beauty is found on each and every one of those tracks. That's the thing I sensed while listening to this album. It was so beautifully made, written and composed and performed. that I just couldn't stop listening to it for a moment, and it's definitely gonna be a repeat for me. One of the things I really love about this album is the way that Wakeman knows how to find a balance between those acoustic keys and the synthesized/electronic keys. Of course, he uses a Steinway piano on here, like the grand piano, and he uses an organ, a real pipe organ, but he also uses the mellotrons and Moogs on here, and it doesn't really try and separate them two. He actually puts them together quite a lot in a way that harmonizes them both, and that's really hard for a lot of people to do, but with his talent, Rick Wakeman just does it so fantastically that I think, again, if you've not listened to this album, take your time, listen to it now. You know what? Screw it. Pause this video, go and listen to this album. I'm sure that nothing that I can say will match up to the amazingness that is this album. And on a slightly different note, I know this is a keyboard heavy album, but there's one instrument that cannot be left untalked about, and that's the drums. The drumming on here and the entire percussion basically are amazing on here. They're like really heavy, they're really synchronized, they're really complex in some way, and that's understandable because the two main drummers on here are Bill Bruford and Alan White off of Yes. Both have worked with Rick Wakeman in the past, and they both do a fantastic job on here. Of course, I also have to mention the amazing player Barry D'Souza, who played on Catherine Howard's song, and he did a great job, and although I don't know him that much, I know that he just did a fantastic job, and I could not tell that he was not Alan White or Bill Bruford, so that means he's drumming really good. And you know what? I gotta give it to Alan White, because usually when I look at the Yes discography, I see all the Bruford albums as being better than Alan White's albums because of their drumming. But here, Alan White really matched up to Bruford in some way that I did not expect, so kudos to him. And another thing, maybe a bit more personal about this series, I really like the fact that this is Rick Wakeman's first solo album, and this is the direction he chose to go in. The idea of medieval times, something that sounds a bit fantastic about it. And I love it because that's also kind of what Oliver Wakeman, his son, decided to do with his solo career, and especially with the one we've listened to on here a few episodes back, which is the 3 Ages of Magic, which also has pretty similar sound to this album. Although I would be sitting and saying that he matched to his father's level, I still think that Oliver did a lot of things in his father's footsteps. So overall, this is a fantastic album with only great songs on it. So again, if you're still here, go ahead and listen to this album. It is so good. And speaking about the cover, this cover is a nice cover. It's really lovely. I think the colors are a bit dull on here, but that's, I guess, the idea of it. And I do like the fact that you got a portrait of Henry VIII with his wives, and then you have like Rick walking across it, in some way adding himself into the history and the story surrounding it and his own interpretation. So I guess that's kind of symbolic and cool, but otherwise I don't have a lot more to say about this cover. So overall, for the rating, I'd have to give this album one of the best 9 out of 10s on here so far. It's a fantastic album, truly amazing piece of music. I love keyboards, I love drums, I love those two together. It's an amazing album, and you have to go and listen to it like right now. But that is about all there is for today. I hope that you enjoyed this one, and stay tuned for tomorrow because we're going to be listening to Upon a Mess by the band Century Turn. But until then, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you all tomorrow. Bye guys.